you're still getting settled, we've got about 10 minutes till we start the practice. Grab a pillow, a blanket, anything for padding that you might need, a yoga block if you have one. Hey, Chandra. You can start to set up your space so that you can relax as much as you possibly can tonight. Hi, Ari. Good evening. Yes, it is a full moon this evening. And even though we're not seeing it tonight, normally we see them pretty vividly here in Los Angeles. It's still there. I guess that's the lesson that we're learning these days. Even if you don't see it, it's still there, right? Hope everybody's bodies are feeling good. When we're busy in our lives and we have hectic schedules, and you might be noticing, how much you normally move around. But it's really not that, it's not that big of a demand with ourselves, becoming at peace with ourselves. If you're not at peace with yourself first, it's really hard to be at peace with anything else around you or relationships with you. Hey Biz, good evening. Hi Saya. Detox music is also on Spotify. You can look it up on my Spotify account, and you guys should see the public playlist there for tonight, or on the Earbuds Music app. I'll be live streaming the playlist as well. So either way, in Spotify, you just have to initiate that and start it right at 7:30. I'll let you know when. And then the live stream, you can just pick that up and when I start it from here. Hey, Ari, I know you go on Spotify. Can you let me know that you're able to see the playlist there tonight? Hi, cousin. Hi, Roz. Late evening for anybody in New York, I know. In Chicago, 2 hours ahead of us here in LA. And say there's definitely been some waves of emotion running through us today. You might be feeling that. There's a lot of suffering going on out there. There's a lot of people that need a hug, that can't get a hug. A lot of people that never thought this is something that they would be facing in their life. It won't pop up until I start it. So I'll start. Hi, Derek. Yeah, Ross, that sky, you get a little glimpse. Yeah, we got a pretty good spot here at the house. Evenings when the sky is clear, you'll get kind of that hue of pink as the sun's setting. We're up on not a big hill, just kind of like a little bump. But at the end of the street, you get this great vantage point of downtown. And then you get some really beautiful sunsets. So again, if you're just getting set up, make yourself comfortable and set up your space and so that it's most relaxing. Again, I've seen some great pictures you guys sent, videos that you've sent of your home setup, and make it as relaxing as you possibly can. Hey Valerie. Hi Zula. And I've got a block. If you got a block, use that. You could have a pillow, you could have a blanket, you could have a towel. These are just items that you may use, you may not. But essentially, any position that we find ourselves in tonight, if there's a way for you to release more into the ground by bringing more of the ground in connection with your body, and then do that. That's what the props are for. You know, sliding a pillow in between your legs or whatever it might be, and so that your muscles can release and relax. Pretty cool. I personally don't normally do a detox class every day. The difference in my body in the vinyasa practice, like we did this morning, literally keeps getting lighter and lighter. Now, this is my body, which is just typically tight. Like, the muscle tissue is fibrous, it's dense, it's heavy. So a practice like detox can really help move wide open, and flexibility is not an issue. This can be something a little bit more challenging because, you know, the body's not there to hold you in place. And so you're still fine to be here. Hey Debo. Hi Alessandra. Hi Ali. Hallie, good evening. Looks like we've certainly trying to pull more people in. I mentioned it in the morning practice. You know, it's pretty challenging to sit in the poses. You may know that, but settle into the stillness. But for most people, it's very difficult. Yeah, I see we're at the mercy of the internet, and with the rain, there might be some buffering. Hopefully you can pick it up. And all right, you guys. Well, I hope it clears up. I'm seeing a little bit of the buffering myself. Not sure why. Can't really tell why. But you know, hopefully the good graces of the full moon will help us out here. And I'm gonna go ahead and start the earbuds playlist. So if you're on Spotify, you can go ahead and start that as well. Hi PG. Should see you guys popping up here on the playlist. Looking good. Hi Amy. And then once you've gotten your volume set with your video and your music, and we're actually going to start in a child's pose tonight. So you could do child's pose with a block in between your feet for your bum to rest. You could put a pillow behind your legs or a blanket, and so that as you fold your legs down, and there's some cushioning in behind your knees. And with your knees wide and your belly relaxed in between your thighs, and you bring your forehead down to rest, and that could be on the mat, that could be on a pillow, and that can be on your hands. Make any little Here we go. So getting set up in your child's pose, go ahead and let your forehead relax. As far as the breath goes in your detox practice, it is completely natural.
If it gets short because the position is applying some stress into your body or the tightness in your body, let it be short. If it comes as a sigh here and there, let yourself take those sighs. And just don't worry about changing it or forcing it in any way for the next hour. You might feel good as our opening pose to rock your forehead a couple times side to side. And feel any tightness, any stress in your neck and your shoulders. And then set your forehead back at center. You might feel good to take the elbows a little bit wider. And then let's start to settle into the stillness here. And I'd say as a whole, there have been a lot of waves and emotions throughout the day today. So if you're part of this collective consciousness, you may be feeling those as well. If you can, get out of your own way, get out of your own story for the next hour, and let's sit in these poses tonight. The sacred sense of connecting to everyone everywhere. And even investing yourself into feel those unimaginable feelings of what for some people tonight is real. You notice muscle by muscle and throughout your out of your eyes in this evening's practice. Here for this practice, and you can allow it to be real and to be raw. Done where child's pose hit you tonight. And then when you're ready, go nice and slowly start to make your way up to all. Any creaks, any cracks and space in your low back. And if you had a block or a pillow in between your legs, you can keep it there. And we're just going to crawl forward and come down onto your elbows. And let your legs extend out behind you, and so that your hips can release into the mat. And keep your elbows there and to kickstand your heart, and we're going to come into a half frog pose. And so take your right leg and then slide your knee up towards your shoulder, and keeping your inner thigh and heavy into the ground, and your heel is out, and so it's below your knee. And you can adjust your elbows. You broaden the space across your waist if you need to. And then keep your arms there to kickstand your heart. You can put a light interlace through your fingers. And you're in half frog pose. Let your head hang heavy and soften your jaw here. And just like you did in child's pose, it may feel nice to turn your chin a couple times side to side. And find that space and to release your neck, and then just let your chin fall heavy into your chest, and you're welcome to close your eyes and be in the shape and stillness. It's not easy to be alone, everybody. And just like it's not easy to wake up inside of ourselves, and it's not easy to dig deep and discover the inner in amidst all the chaos, in all the distractions and all the noise. In the best way, just like any other practice that I know of, and to get through it, you got to go straight through it. And whether it's the resistance in your body, the thoughts that you're having in your mind, if you try to maneuver around them, if you try to dodge your own mind, it will only show up in some other way, in some other time to come. So please allow yourself and to feel whatever you're feeling, and think whatever you're thinking. Acknowledge your thoughts. But they're only thoughts. And release your belly even more into the ground. And relax your jaw. Take a deep breath if that would feel nice. And as slowly as you can, hopefully your floor will support you in this. Just begin to let your right leg slide back. As your right leg goes all the way straight, and feel that and turn back onto your quad. And then take a moment here and to observe and the difference in feeling your right leg up to your hip versus your left. the back of the neck into the back of your jaw. And you release your tongue. You may feel really nice and to take a sigh right now. And from the webbing of your palms, and use your hands, keep your head heavy, and slowly press yourself back up to all fours. As you come onto your hands and knees, you're going to use that pillow or that block that was possibly in between your feet, and so that you can sit on it. And so lean to your left and bring your right leg out in front of you. And place the pillow or the block in so that your hips can feel level and square. And once you get your right leg out in front, you can shake the toes out left and right a couple times, relax the toes. And so you're releasing the strength down the leg. And you feel the weight drop through the back of the knee. Let your quadricep disengage and begin to crawl your hands forward along your right leg. We're going to bow ourselves into a hamstring stretch. I either mentioned this last evening or this morning, but the upper body is a lever to the sensations in the lower body. And so by folding forward, and you're going to introduce a sensation, whether it's in your hips, in your back, okay, in your leg. You're going to find that point of greatest resistance. And then once you've found it, you're going to soften your mind around it while releasing your body and multitasking in every way, and to let yourself go and be free and see what comes up. And if nothing comes up, that's great. And if things come up, that's fine. And relax in the breath, stay in the pose. You don't let anything pull you off your mat tonight. And stay in the pose. If your mind says, heck, I don't want to be here right now, then that's another sign that you're exactly where you're supposed to be. You're moving through it, moving with it. Remember, it is an invisible entity of energy. Just like in LA tonight, we cannot see that in full moon, but she is still there. And she is still casting her light, even though sometimes that may be through the clouds. And she is still casting her light. And keep your toes relaxed, soften your belly. And you might be able to crawl your hands forward another 6 inches and release a little bit deeper. You'll begin to discover, and through the clarity of this stillness, and just how much of your life you've been living in the delusion and the illusion, in the facade of your eyes, and what you think you want, and versus your truth and what you actually already have. In your mind, sometimes it plays games and it says, oh, I've done all that I can. I've gone as far as I can go. Well, that's just not true. And crawl your hands forward another 6. And release your belly. And fold in deeper. I've done all I can. I've gone as far as I can go. And crawl your hands forward another 6. And fold in a little bit deeper. And you wouldn't know any difference if you had stopped on your own 3 stages back. And because as humans we don't know what we don't know. And so that's why we're all here for each other, and to enrich the opportunity and to see something new, and to discover ourselves, and to support one another. You know what? And taking a night.
Good to feel a deeper breath in your chest. Your jaw release even more. And put your left, and then bring your hands out in front. Make your way into a tabletop, please. You should feel the flow sensation coming back into your left foot, and through your ankle into your toes. And go ahead and come down onto your elbows and let your legs go back straight. And we'll set up our half frog pose on the left leg. And so elbows underneath your shoulders, little kickstand for your heart. And spread your knees, hips nice and wide. And then gently slide your left knee up towards your left shoulder. And with your heels set up behind your knee. And light interlace to your fingers. And you got to work those distances. Might have to slide your elbows forward a little bit. And then start to release the belly, and you can let your head drop here. Half frog pose on your left side. And begin to settle into the stillness.
Hopefully you're feeling it, your inner left thigh into your hip crease. And feel the neck if you're feeling it in the shoulders, and that's normal. And we'll take about 1 more minute on this side. Nice and slow, everybody. Start to let your left leg slide back down straight. And feel that through your hip. And turn your thigh back flat to the mat. And take a deeper breath, and a light sigh might feel good. And then bring one hand back to the mat. And use the other hand, go ahead and make your way up to all fours. Let your head stay heavy. Good, and you still got that block or the pillow in between your feet. And then go ahead and sit back down onto your heels. Good. Feel your head above your heart and shoulders relax. And lean to your right a little bit, and then bring your left leg out in front of you. And set your pillow or block underneath your sitting bone. And shake your left toes out a couple times, side to side, rock on the heel. And then relax the toes, take the flexion out of the ankle. And then bring your hands forward, frame your left leg. You meet the sensation in your back body from your hips into your hamstring, ideally in your hamstring, but you may feel it other places for sure. And then soften your belly, begin to rest your head here. And soft belly, everybody. Crawl your hands forward 6. And fold in a little bit deeper. And soft belly, take your hands forward another 6. And fold deeper. You can do it, stay with it. And stay loose in the belly, everybody. One more time, hands forward 6. And fold in without strength. And surrendering to gravity. And let your head hang heavy. You can figure it this way: your mind is barely used to being held up in sensations for 5 to 8 breaths, let alone in 3 to 5 minutes. And so give yourself some space and have a little patience. And it's okay for anything and to be showing up in your mind as you sit with these sensations in your body. And keep the head heavy. Walk your hands back in slowly. You can have your eyes closed as you roll up one vertebra at a time.
Find yourself a little retreat with your hands in your lap and head above your heart first. It might feel good to take a deeper breath and a little sigh here. And take your right hand back beside you. And as you lean to the right, and to tuck your left shin back in. And sitting on your block, sitting on your pillow. And then go ahead and walk your hands forward. Come back into a tabletop. And so we're going to set up for a seal pose. Take your knees wider than your hips. And then take your hands and turn your middle fingers out. And so it's rotating the arm, and the eye of the elbow is pointing forward. Say your middle fingers are turned out about 45 degrees. And then keeping your arms straight, and you're just going to roll your hips down and towards the ground. And you can stagger on the knees. If you need to reset, and your arms stay straight, and the heavier your hips, and the higher your shoulders are going to lift and towards your ears. And so it's like a shoulder shrug.
And chin stays down in the chest. And the gaze falling towards the ground. We're not here quite as long. But start to feel the release from your belly button to your sternum. That's your right around your breastplate bone in your chest. And no doubt you may be having a lot of sensation in this pose in your low back. You soften into it the best you can. The easiest place is if you realize that you're gripping your jaw or you're holding your breath. Let it be natural. And say, this is just too much. It's too much. It's pulling you out versus letting you settle in. And then you can always go down onto your forearms and do half the pose, which is called Sphinx pose instead of seal. It's going to let all that emotion flow. Emotion that was stuck, you didn't even know it was stuck. And you're probably going to feel it here. Stay with me 1 more minute, support each other. Okay, everyone, keeping your head gaze down. You draw your belly in, feel your knees, and slowly, inch by inch, start to lift your hips back up. And we're going to let all this go and receive, and like the biggest hug we can from Mother Earth, come down onto your chest. And let your arms go out over your head in front. And let your belly and your legs and your chest and come all the way down onto the ground. Feel this release here. And turn a cheek if that feels good. Feel this release here. You think how many times you've thought to yourself, I can't do that. And practice is actually doing less. And when you're doing something, doing it is clear. Back to the mat. And use your hands, start to make your way back up to all fours. And keep the head heavy. Frog, okay? So turn and face the sideline of your mat. If your knees were sensitive in half frog, then as wide as you can. And with your heel and setting on the vertical plane through your knees, so you're not coming forward and you're not pushing back. And you got some space out in front of you over the side edge of your mat. And you can bring a block underneath your chest. You might start on your hands and then make your way down onto your forearms. And start here again. If your hips are falling back or forward, and keep them on the vertical plane with your knees. And you should feel this on your inner thighs all the way up to your groin. To your chest. You pillow under your belly, elbows can start to spread out wide. And then your forehead can come all the way down onto the ground. You got it. Stay with your frog about 1 more minute here. Deepening your practice of what it means and to discover new parts, new places. And realize it's not in the defiance of your mind, it's actually in the acceptance of your mind. And attach less in trying to control any part of the experience, and you can sit in these relatively challenging positions and feel. I'll walk you through coming out. You should be very aware, and so that you don't get a twinge right into your low back. And so from your chest, start to make your way back up onto your elbows. And then once you're on your elbows, you're going to turn your feet in towards each other. That's going to soften a lot of it. And then the other hand, now firm your belly a little bit. And keep your gaze down. And then start to slide your right knee towards center. And then your left knee towards center. And little by little, bring your knees all the way together. And then once you got your knees together in this direction, just go ahead and sit back onto your heels.
And it might feel really good to roll your shoulders back and down. And tick-tock the clock. Left ear to your left shoulder. And right ear to your right shoulder. And then you can take that into circles of your head and around your neck. Big circles. And then change directions and take your head in the opposite. You guys let your head come back to center and you can roll your mat back out. And we're going to keep facing the sideline of our mat and bring your feet back around in front. And bring the soles of your feet together, let your knees fall apart. And there's some distance in between the heels of your feet and the base of your pelvis. You gently rest your hands onto your feet, and you're just going to let yourself round into a passive forward fold. And feel the waves of breath rippling, and caution before this practice, and you're now, as they say, free to fly. Every single time you're letting out things that may not serve you in your highest self. And then you're coming closer in touch with who you really are, and versus who you think you want to be. All you got to do is focus on who you really are. And you'll never again worry about who you think you want to be. And go ahead and start to roll yourself back up, please. And take your hands to your outer thighs, bring your knees together. And give yourself a big hug, arms over your shins. And forehead to your knees, let your head hang heavy. I mean, what a ride, everybody, what a ride. And take your time from this place. If you'd like to have a sip of water or anything else that you have around you right now, and you're welcome to that. And then we're going to turn and lie down onto our backs in our final pose tonight, Shavasana. And take those pillows or blankets and make yourself as comfortable as you can. Yeah, this is the closest we'll get. Normally in the studio, I'm like, oh, if we can only be transported into our beds, you might be there. So go ahead and relax, please. I want to thank you all for sharing the practice tonight. I invite you to stay in your Shavasana and for as long as it serves you to be here and to be with yourself, your true self, your deep self, and your unobstructed self. And thank you so much for your stillness in this practice. And I hope to see you all tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Pacific time and for our next practice. Have a beautiful rest, everybody, and beautiful rest of your night. Namaste.